Thank you for my Lord.
This thing is explosive.
Very nice to meet you.
Joe, pleasure.
So I, like many people, was introduced to you because of the debate that you had with Billy Carson.
Quote unquote.
You know, it's one of those things where it's very unfortunate when people get caught with their pants down. Andrew Schultz and I had a discussion about this. Like he said when he had Billy on the podcast, he said, we're not going to fucking research anything. We're not going to search anything. We're not going to do anything. We'll just let him talk because it's fun.
Yeah.
Andrew's awesome. But when he was on with you, it was quite apparent that you are an actual expert in the Bible and in many religious texts, and that he didn't necessarily have the facts straight.
Hey, welcome to Apex Human Awakening, where we take a geopolitical Christian lens on the Apex Human Awakening that is leading to this golden age of Christianity that we're going into. Make sure you get your copy of Hey God, Wake the Fuck Up, link below. This is a much anticipated interview. It's getting over 100,000 views per hour. That is mind blowing. Even the clips that are coming off Joe Rogan are getting 50,000 views per hour. This is huge news for the faith community and for the world at large. A lot of people are getting exposed to a form of Christianity that is based in evidence. There's a common narrative in the world right now that we as humans are just worms. Our lives are meaningless ultimately, and that we're just part of this cosmic, chaotic, swirling mass of noise and violence and reproduction. And that fuels a lot of the ideologies of progressives, even the ideologies of right-wing conservatives, with their idea that they are worthless, unworthy of God's grace, sinful, dirty. And these sorts of ideas go completely contrary to the most important book ever compiled. It tells us that we are precious, central figures to the creative force itself, which is called God in the Bible, the Lord. The Lord sees us as the very apple of his eye.
The search for our origins is one of the most human endeavors. One of the most, because to know that we are particularly unique. We're so different. We stand out from every other animal on this planet. And there's this crazy, wild war of biology where life is just eating life all around us. And we just got to some crazy place that far beyond any other creature that's on this planet.
Yeah.
And we did it in a bunch of different ways. We did it in a bunch of different ways all over the place with different scribbles and different icons and different gods and different things. And we're all wondering, like, which one, where did it start? What was the origin of all this? Like, what was the need to write these things down? What purpose did it serve to have these myths and legends and stories? Like, was it just to keep society together, or was it to retell a very important story that was a very unique thing that happened at the dawn of time?
And that's why you see, I mean.
So at this point, you see Joe Rogan is actually articulating some perspective of the world that reflects what the ancient people saw. They saw chaos, they saw destruction, they saw a law of the jungle, that sort of thing. There was no merciful overseer of the universe that cared about us as human beings in this fight for survival that Joe's describing.
The literary comparison of ancient Near Eastern origin stories is like a really interesting thing to do, because when you look at something like the Enuma Elish, which was the Babylonian creation story, and then you look at something like Genesis chapter 1, there are obvious crossovers with, like I said before, these ancient Near Eastern conventions. But then you can see that the author of Genesis is making these points that are actually rebutting something like the origin stories of the surrounding cultures that largely believe that matter is like eternal and the gods come out of the created world, and that there's this narrative of the battle that takes place where some gods fight against other gods, and the world around us that we see and like human beings are the end result of this battle. And so they would read this on every Babylonian New Year. And one of the main themes was basically that, like, it's all chance. It's all a random mistake. You were created without purpose and intention because Tiamat gets destroyed. And she is the god that, you come from. And then you read Genesis chapter 1 and it says, in the beginning, God creates the heavens and the earth, and he makes it good. And there's this idea that like that's countercultural in the idea that the Babylonians did not think that the world was good. And that like at the end of every refrain, it's good, it's good, it's good, it's good, and then it's very good at the end. And that humanity in particular is created in the image of God. Like that's a very, not just like kings, which a lot of ancient Near Eastern cultures believed that kings were created in the image of God, but that humanity in general is created in the image of God. And this idea of the imago Dei, that that's why you're different. Like, why are you different from all the animals?
Right.
Because you're given something that exemplifies a unique quality. And then the ancient Near Eastern cultures that believe that, you know, the planets are gods and that the sea is a god, and that at Genesis chapter 1 looks at that and it kind of subverts the expectations of the day in getting to this ultimate question of, you know, why are we here? What are we supposed to do while we're here, and how do we get out of here? And it says that, no, there's purpose, there's meaning, there's intention. And actually, a lot of the things that you worship, it's pretty stupid because God created them.
That's huge. That's huge. When you think about what Wes is saying here, he's talking about the power that this, again, the most important book you'll ever read. And then the second most important book is this one. Make sure you go out and get, Hey God, wake the fuck up. But anyway, getting back to the most important book. In the Genesis account, he's absolutely right. The gods were the water, the earth, Tiamat. They were all of these elements around us. These were considered deities. These were considered powers or forces in the world. And what the Genesis account does in the first chapter is basically says, yeah, all of those gods were created by our God. So it's like he said, it's usurping, it's subverting the zeitgeist of the day, the spirit of the people at that time. You know, all of humanity said, you know, everything is chaos. We are not special. We're just ants in a maze, worms basically, and powerless. And then you have this account that comes out and says, no, you're special. The God that created the gods of heathens, the gods of savages, the gods of other races, that God took time to create you. And that's why Christianity, Judaism, this Abrahamic tradition is so important. And in the center, the core of Christianity is Christ, of course, but it's saying the creator of the universe cares so much about you and about your concerns and about your issues and your needs that he is willing to sacrifice his divinity and become one of you in order that you might become one of him. And that is the power of the Christian message. That's what makes Christians exceptional in the world, not just in our lifestyles, but in our productivity, in our ability to promote peace, in our ability to end slavery, in our ability to create cohesive societies of diverse nations and ethnicities. That is what makes Christianity superior. It's not the fact that we don't cuss. It's not the fact that, you know, we don't eat pork, or if you're an Adventist, or, excuse me, it's not the moralism. It's the sacrifice of Jesus and the grace of the creator of the universe. The fact that the creator of the universe wants to have a relationship with you. So let's see what they have to say about that.
I actually think that Jesus condemns moralism. And ultimately what I see Peterson doing is looking at Jesus as a moral example. And if Jesus is nothing but a moral example, then you can save yourself and you don't actually need a savior. And so I think actually Jesus would have critiqued that because Jesus was very against moralism.
And how do you define Jesus being against moralism? Like, what do you mean by that exactly?
Well, Jesus looks at the religiosity of his day with like particular groups like the Pharisees and the Sadducees, who are these other groups of Jews during his day. So we talked about the Essenes, who actually aren't mentioned in the Bible, but there are other groups like the Pharisees, who are like lay scholars, and the Sadducees, who are professional priest scholars. And he's constantly critiquing the fact that they have this hypocritical religiosity to them, where they're doing things like tithing their mint leaves, like to make sure that they get all of. This is where we get the idea of the letter of the law versus the intention of the law. Like Jesus critiques them for that because he says, you're trying to do everything right and you're missing the point. So one of the things he says is like, if your donkey falls in a ravine, on the Sabbath, do you pull it out? Or is that work? Like, what's the point of the Sabbath? Is it to not do any work? Like, is it to make sure that you're not working too hard because you might be breaking the Sabbath? Or like, what is the point? He says, like, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. And that there's this intention. This is the whole Sermon on the Mount.
This is so what Wes Huff did here was just encapsulated the basis of geopolitical Christianity. It is a departure from legalism, moralism, fanaticism, insanity. You didn't tithe your mint leaves. What's the modern version of that? You're gay. You have tattoos. You're having an affair. Okay, guess what? Yes, there may be problems with these things. But from a geopolitical Christian perspective, it's not about your actions and about, I feel this way about myself, so let me judge that person so I can be better. It's not about that at all. And there's so many desperate, savage, so-called Christians that are out there. Well, according to 2 Timothy 2:26, come on, people. It's about a relationship. And are the results that you are getting in your life good for you? If they are, that's an indication that likely you're in relationship with the Father, the source code. You have that guidance. It's not about not working on the Sabbath if you're a Jew or an Adventist. It's not about not cussing if you're a Baptist or an Episcopalian or a Methodist. It's not about not having tattoos if you're a Catholic or whatever, right? It's about the relationship to the source of life. That is what Jesus came here to exemplify and to reiterate. That is what the Pauline epistles support and exemplify. And that's the basis of geopolitical Christianity. Your connection to the source and your ability to listen to that guidance and live harmoniously here within the world. The two greatest commandments: love the Lord your God, and him only shalt thou serve, and then love your neighbor as yourself. So if your Christianity is causing you to be a barrier to Christ rather than a bridge, you are the synagogue of Satan. And now, let me make it clear, Wes Huff has no connection to the Geopolitical Christian Church. I want to make that very clear. He's not a geopolitical Christian. I don't even know what branch of Christianity he belongs to. But he and many other great thinkers have the geopolitical lens. Now, again, this is the thing with Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is a moralistic Christian. He's like, oh, make your room and all this stuff. And I love a lot of what he says. But the moralism, that it just puts a frown on your face. The Spirit of Christ puts a song in your heart and a skip in your step. But moralism drags you down. It densifies you. Okay? So immoralism is everywhere. It's in the feminist movement. It's in BLM. It's in progressive LGBTQAI, ABCDEFG, all the way up to all the alphabets now, right? It's in every single organized movement. The Christian is the one who can see the flow of the humanity moving down the path of destruction and decide to go a different way. That is the Christian movement. The Christian movement has existed since God woke up in humanity. That's what Christianity has always been. That's at least according to the geopolitical Christian lens. So, if you find that interesting, if you're into that, thank you for watching. Thank you for liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting below. This is an exceptional interview. I'm going to let you guys watch the closing. They did such a great job of closing this out.
Matthew chapter 5 is, he keeps saying, you have heard it said, but I say, and he refers to the Mosaic law. And it looks like he's critiquing the Mosaic law, but he's not actually. He's getting back to the intention of the law. So when he says, you have heard it said, do not commit murder, but I say to you, anybody who harbors a hate for their brother in their heart has already committed murder. And what he's getting to is like, what's the intention? What's the meaning of the law that God gives to you? Because the law is like a mirror. It shows you how dirty you are. But his critique is, he's like, you guys are trying to clean yourself with a mirror. That's stupid. It's just going to, if anything, it's going to make you more messy. Like, get in the shower. The law is not what cleans you. The law is what reveals that you're dirty. And so in that sense, I think, if Jesus is a moral example, it actually misses what I think Jesus actually said about what his purpose was, in that you can't do enough to actually live up to the standard that God holds you to. And so if you keep striving, you're actually going to wear yourself out and be exhausted.
Like atheists.
I didn't say you did, Joe.
A lot of them go crazy. They go crazy when they get older.
Thank you for watching, liking, sharing, and subscribing. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Look, if you're a religious Christian, I'm going to ask you for your sake not to proselytize. If you want to proselytize, I'm just going to erase your comments. It's immoral for me to support moralism or legalism. All we do here as geopolitical Christians is we live the very best life that we can. We connect with God in the very best way that we can. And hopefully our joy in life, our prosperity in life, our purpose in life, our pleasure in life is the testimony that other people can see, and they'll say, hey, what's the secret in your sauce? That's what Christianity really is about. Thank you for watching, liking, sharing, subscribing. I will see you in the next video. God bless you all.
Thank you for my Lord.